Let the wars begin! Out now on video, Robot Wars, the first World Championship. Robots from across the globe are going one-on-one in the most destructive knockout competition ever. Who will be the World Champion? Own it on video now.
The year is 2000, and Robot Wars, in the middle of airing its third series on BBC Two, was on a hot streak. What started as a series of competitions organised by Mark Thorpe in San Francisco has now become a very profitable and very lucrative IP, and Series 3's ratings reflected that too. 9 episodes of said series ranked first in their respective BARB rankings, with the highest being Heat E earning a dizzying 6.13 million viewers. Wanting to capitalise on that success, Mentorn organised a one-off competition to be released on video in March of 2000. This competition would be known simply as the First World Championship. The First World Championship would be a particularly interesting point in the history of Robot Wars for a multitude of reasons. One of which being a rare instance of the UK Robot Wars camp acknowledging entrants from the USA, even including a well-known BattleBots competitor. But the majority of entrants would be well-known Robot Wars competitors representing a myriad of countries. Panic Attack representing Wales, Kilohertz representing the Czech Republic, All Talk representing Scotland, Dietor representing Ireland, Weldor also representing Ireland, Northern Ireland, right? I know what I said, and Cerberus representing Cyprus. So let's not waste any time and delve right into this First World Championship, shall we? No, I'm not doing another House Robot introduction. They've driven me to ruin. I'm over them now. So our first fight features the brand new machine Dipoposaurus Rex, which I will never be able to spell right no matter how many times I try, and Dietor, the greatest Irish sporting hope since Pico Lopez. And sure enough, Dietor, despite the horrifying smiley face, takes complete charge of this first fight, flipping Dipopo whatever the fuck up and over, and only ever looking on the back foot at the end when they were unsurprisingly set on fire by Bash and lifted up by the name of that bot. But the judges understood the assignment and they rightfully gave Dietor the victory, sending them to the next round. Next up, a robot seen multiple times in the States, Prometheus. If you're like me and you spend way too much time looking into US Robot Wars competitions, you'll know about Prometheus already, mainly through watching it getting absolutely battered by Vlad the Impaler on 2 separate occasions. They're up against Weldor, an Irish legend of robot combat, and fun fact, it still exists, under the ownership of Anthony Murney. Shout out to Anthony. One thing about this fight that you'll notice straight away is the fact that Prometheus is powered by a petrol engine. How will you notice it straight away? Because you can very obviously hear it whirring before the fight even starts.
Roboteers, stand by.
The Prometheus team from the United States of America, Strong, Richard Brawl, Mike Levenberg and Stephen Lane.
It also can't control for shit either, immediately going full throttle into Kilolot, nearly falling into the pit in the process. Weldor also wastes no time lifting them up with their forks, but with one wheel still on the ground, Prometheus does the only thing it knows what to do and drive around incessantly until the engine dies out. Amazing. Weldor then has the accolade of being in the same club as Vlad the Impaler and defeats Prometheus to get into round 2. Chucky Gola. And now we have All Talk representing Scotland against the Bournemouth bad boys, Razor. And you've gotta love how exaggeratingly confident they are in the bot introductions despite their reliability issues. That's what it's all about. And can you believe it? They actually do really, really well in this fight. All Talk, bless them, didn't really stand a chance. This is the kind of performance you expect from Razor. Too bad it'll probably go tits up for them later in the competition. Gotta enjoy it while it lasts. Our next fight, Mortis, sporting a lifter as well as an axe, not a flipper like I said in the previous video, thank you very much, are up against Terra Australis, a team from Australia, shockingly. And if you think about it, they're actually an innovator in robot combat. Why? The robot has googly eyes. It's like they knew that every Beetleweight in the UK for the last 10 years was going to have googly eyes. The real prophets of our time. Sadly, that's probably the only thing they're notable for, as they didn't get off the starting line. What a shame. Going all that way not being able to fight is devastating. Okay, they got to use Nemesis in another competition, but it makes it sound sadder if I don't mention that. And no, I'm not mentioning the Ashes or the International League Championship. Fuck that shit. Next up, Behemoth versus the sole Dutch competitor, Technolease. Now, who the fuck decided to give Behemoth the most flippable shape as their opponent? Come on now. I don't need to tell you who won. Now then, we've got a real scorcher of a fight on our hands now, as 2 second-round semi-finalists, one a former champion, Panic Attack, and the other 101, the super budget-friendly Tracked Machine. And Amy Franklin has a new support teddy, Super Bunny. Not sure how much Super Bunny will help, but he's there regardless. It should be a good fight. The fight begins, and almost as soon as it does, 101 is lifted upside down by Panic Attack, showing that the newly designed version of the former champions is a marked improvement from the previous. Panic Attack then tries another attack on 101 with the attempt to shove them into the pit. And...
No! Panic Attack's driven itself into the pit! And 101 survives!
Cease.
Well, Panic Attack threw themselves down there!
yeah. Panic Attack, after dominating the fight, drove themselves into the pit. Oh, Kim. You are a lovely guy, but that's poor, buddy. That is poor. Next up, Kilohertz, a robot that's done extremely well in every other competition it's been in, except for Robot Wars, against the greatest flipper robot of all time, Chaos Motherfucking 2. I knew we were getting into the real weeds of this competition. The UK champions are here to become the world champions. In fact, I don't even need to cover the rest of the competition because I know they're already going to blitz it. Oh, fuck. No. 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 Please. Please. Oh, do something, please. No. No. Oh, thank fuck. Thank fuck. Fuck you, Kilohertz, and fuck you, Shunt 2. You can't beat my goat. We only strive under pressure, and Chaos 2 is a diamond, baby! And now, the last fight of the first round. Cerberus versus, I shit you not, Mauler. As in South Bay Mauler. As in Supreme Commander Tilford Mauler. I dread to think about how many pieces Cerberus will find themselves in at the end of this fight. Well, about that. Mauler, after its weapon was tested outside to assess its safety, yes, I understand the irony of that statement, it was deemed too dangerous to compete in Robot Wars. What a shame. Maybe it was due to the roadkill incident happening earlier that year, but not having Mauler kick ass on the UK stage, I won't lie, it's very disappointing. Despite that wet fart of an ending to round 1, round 2 is still looking like a fun romp, with the first fight being, once again, Cerberus versus Dietor, who performed well in its first round and, wouldn't you know it, performed just as well in this round, showing that Dietor isn't just a novelty bot to be torched by Bash every 30 seconds. It still is that, but it's also a good robot to boot. And now for a fight that would no doubt be on people's fantasy lists for fights that they'd want to see. Chaos 2 versus Razor. For me though, I know who I'm rooting for. My GOAT, the UK champion. Chaos 2... Well, shit. Chaos 2, despite starting fairly well, had its CO2 canister punctured once again by Razor, and in an attempt to save the robot from further damage, threw themselves into the pit. And as much as I'd like to go into full cope mode, they lost to the better robot. I'm so glad there's no face cam in these videos, because you'd see tears falling down my eyes. Can you tell from my voice? It's so wobbly. Behemoth vs Mortis was another great Behemoth masterclass as the Cambridge boys once again found themselves unmatched and unprepared and pitted without a problem whatsoever. And 101, maybe helped by the fact that little Amy decided against sacrificing Super Bunny, wins a slightly drab fight against Weldor. Quick aside, Weldor actually did pretty decent in this fight. I can't fault it.
Well, good. And you survived for the whole duration of the fight. So it wasn't all bad, was it?
No.
You just could have done with a bigger chopper.
So, I found out via my friend James that bigger chopper wasn't in fact some obscure 90s TV reference, but in fact it just means penis. I don't know why I gave Philippa more credit than she deserves on that one. And now, the semis. Behemoth versus Dietor, and Razor versus 101. And despite Dietor looking the best it's ever performed, Behemoth were also looking the best it's ever performed. And they were very quickly flipped over, then back on its feet, and up and over again, and again, and again. And because of all that flipping, the fight went to a judge's decision. I don't need to tell you who won that, and if you do need telling, please leave immediately. Razor vs 101 occurred in a very similar vein to the previous fight, as Razor spent the majority of the fight toying with 101, leaving enough holes in the latter machine that someone with trypophobia wouldn't dare to look at it. Mercifully ended by the time running out, 101 ended their first World Championship campaign going out in the semis. And so, the final is here. Two bots performing the best they'd ever performed in Robot Wars thus far. Behemoth and Razor to determine the World Championship of Robot Wars. The fight begins with Razor, the faster bot, trying to look for a weak spot on Behemoth, but against the run of play, Razor is flipped up and over. Knowing that they could self-right with the Phoenix wins, Behemoth continues to push Razor, holding it in place as long as possible. Flipped back up and then flipped on its side a second time, they're pushed around until they're on the flame pit. Nudged by Dead Metal, they are given sufficient time to self-right, and then the momentum shifts. Razor punctures holes into the side of Behemoth, a weaker part of the machine, and continues to puncture Behemoth wherever it can, only being stopped by the time limit. A fantastic fight, worthy of any final. It goes to the judges, and you can really feel like it can go either way. But after a long deliberation and a split decision, they announce their winner.
It's a split decision. 2-1. It goes to Razor!
Despite a valiant effort from Ant Pritchard and co., it just wasn't enough, and Razor, chronic reliability issues aside, finally get their first piece of competitive silverware, showing that their design, when working as intended, is extremely dangerous in battle. I find this episode to be one of the best in the Series 3 Extended Universe. Maybe not my personal favourite, but you can't not say that most, if not all the fights in this special were notable in some form. Much like the World Cup, it showed that even minnows of the Robot Wars world could show the best that their machines could do. Behemoth and Dietor performed extremely well, and Razor finally showed exactly what their robot was capable of, beating even the UK champions at their own game. Razor were given the first World Championship trophy in the pits by someone who, despite having a troubled relationship with the Robot Wars name, either by contract or by his own volition, showed up regardless. The creator of Robot Wars, Mark Thorpe. This would be the last time we would see him in anything regarding Robot Wars, as his court case would rage on well into the 2000s, but regardless, the fact that we have some footage of the man in some Robot Wars media after the initial US events is something that I, and hopefully many of you, will cherish for years and years to come. Thank you, Mark, for Robot Wars.